Nobody teaches you how to forgive. And what if you don't want to? Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. Forgiveness, the formal definition for me, means I want you out of my head. That's it. I want you out of my head. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop dreaming about you. So I want you to write down all the people you think you need to forgive. Now, to be fair, you're going to write the unforgivable people first. Your top 5 people are right at the top of your mind right now as you're listening to this. Write those people down first. Everybody does. I did too. I forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire relationship. And so it is. Thank God. Amen. End it any way you like.
You know, I think right now would be a perfect time to share that this podcast is officially sponsored. And this week's episode is brought to you by Juliana Barbati Consulting. Juliana is an expert in podcast SEO. She's worked with so many different podcasts and helped shows grow, helped shows get more eyes, helped shows get more ears, helped shows, get more followers. And I am honored to be working with her and have her team backing the podcast. So I'm very excited that they are the first advertiser to join the Round 2 podcast, first of many. So thank you, Juliana. And if you are looking for any sort of services to help your podcast grow, feel free to reach out to her. Her contact information is in the show notes.
All right. Welcome back to the Round 2 podcast, everybody. I hope you are all doing well. And I am so excited to welcome Katharine Giovanni to the Round 2 podcast. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
You are welcome. I was just mentioning to you before we started recording how I have been so looking forward to having this conversation with you because I felt such a connection with you when we had our discovery call. So I know we're going to dive into the topic of forgiveness, and that is something that I think is so incredibly important. And it is a topic I've not covered in depth yet on this podcast. So I am so grateful you're here.
Thank you so much. Everybody says you have to forgive your pastor, your parents, your teachers. Nobody teaches you how.
Yeah.
And what if you don't want to?
Right.
Then what do you do? Then what do you do? I teach the how.
I'm so excited to learn from you. I did debate reading your book before you came on, but then I thought I didn't want to get ahead of myself or start making my own assumptions or having my own interpretations. I wanted to learn from you, and then I will read it after.
Oh, you didn't want to cheat, huh?
I didn't want to cheat. I didn't want to cheat. I feel like there's so much to learn, and I love the conversation aspect of learning. So yeah, let's just dive right in. How did you get here? How did you get to being an expert in teaching people how to forgive?
Well, to call myself a forgiveness expert or a transformation mentor, if I can get the word out, probably implies that the universe, which has a really good sense of humor, by the way, has gifted me with many people and situations to forgive. Yes. So it's been to quote some very beautiful song lyrics, it's been a long, strange trip.
Okay.
And it probably started in the 8th grade, back before the turn of the century. Don't I sound old saying that?
Isn't it funny? I see some of the kids these days being like, oh my God, you were born in the 1900s. And I'm like, well, when you put it like that.
Get out the covered wagon and the shotgun. Yeah.
Right.
But it was, I was in the 8th grade, and my parents were very pickled people. They died both sober, but at the time they were very pickled and very alcoholic. And I was terribly bullied in school because I was different. And so as a result of that, in the 8th grade, I tried to commit suicide, and I turned into one of those teenagers. Okay. They're dark. They have one friend. They kind of keep to themselves. And I kind of just honestly floated through life for the next decade or so, until my mother fell down a flight of stairs, broke her hip, and ended up in the hospital. And even my mother couldn't get a gin and tonic in the hospital. So she dried out, and we sent her to rehab, and we became tighter than sisters. We lived together. We practically finished each other's sentences, and we forgave each other. And then 3 years later, she died of breast cancer, which I eventually got in 2012. And when she died, everybody in their life has what I call flashpoints. And you don't know it's a flashpoint when you're going through it, but this was one of them. And it's one of those life-changing, here you're at the fork, do you go right or left type of moments. And I knew that if I didn't change my act, I was going to die just like she did. And I wasn't ready to do that yet, because I always figured there was something else out there for me. So I was the only New Year's resolution I actually ever kept. I quit drinking. I've been sober now for 35 years. And when you get sober, you're supposed to make amends. I was terribly shy. We had no technology back then.
Yeah. No texting.
If I was allowed to text these people, I would have been all over it. It would have been brilliant. I would have loved to do that because I was shy. But no, you're supposed to reach out to these people. So I had two choices. You telephone them and risk getting yelled at, or you met them in person, which was worse, and you risk getting yelled at. Either way, I'm getting yelled at. So I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I really didn't want to do it. So I stumbled on the first part of my system by accident, and I did it in my own house, in my apartment, all by myself, and I didn't tell anybody.
Okay.
And believe it or not, using my system, which takes that particular principle. So, here's the stress off of your shoulders right away. You don't have to reach out and tell anybody you're doing this. Forgiveness is very private and very personal. And I accidentally stepped into the first part of the system. And as I grew and the years went on, I forgave more people, and I was just paying it lip service because nobody knew how to do it back in those days. But then around 2021, some friends of mine and we discovered the secret sauce and the actual method to forgiveness that I'm teaching today. There's a special sauce to it. There's a trick.
I mean, we're hardly 5 minutes in, and you just said so much. And I'm like, I have 100 questions floating through my head. So first of all, I would love to take a step back to 8th grade. And you're attempting to leave the world by suicide. How did you survive that?
I had a very close friend who's a vascular surgeon today, and she saved thousands of lives. I just happened to be the first one. And I'm very intuitive. I've been intuitive since I was a kid. And I used to talk to myself, and then I used to answer myself. And imagine my surprise when I discovered I was the only one that could do that. So in the 1970s, society had this really irritating habit of slapping a "you're crazy" as a bedbug sticker across your forehead if you even exhibited an ounce of intuition and you didn't fit into the round squares that they were trying to plug you in. So I just kept my mouth quiet. I never said anything. And the night I was thinking, nobody's going to care, nobody's going to really give a darn if I leave the planet. All I kept hearing was, call Vivian, call Vivian, call Vivian, on an annoyingly basis, to a point where I did give her a call and she talked me out of it. But I never told anybody about it until the last few years, because there was no reason to. Why would I tell anybody? But when you're at the brink and you're at the end like that, it often only takes one person to pull you out. One person to show that they care, one person to give you a smile. And I was blessed that I had that person. She's gone on to save thousands of lives since mine.
I mean, that is so amazing. And honestly, I had no idea that was a part of your story. And it is interestingly timely, because just recently, one of my best friends, one of her longtime friends, killed himself.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I was too. It's just so tragic, and it's so senseless. And all I thought about is gosh, I wish he had just called one person that night, or one person, because anybody he would have called would have been like, no, let's talk about this. There's so much to live for. We love you. We want you here. So how grateful that you had the courage to pick up the phone.
Well, I don't know if it was courage, or I wanted the universe to stop whispering her name in my head.
Yeah.
Call. But it's on some point, on some level, I obviously didn't want to go anywhere. So I reached out.
Well, I'm so grateful that you didn't, because I love having you here and being able to learn from you today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So your mother and you ended up getting much closer as a result of her in the hospital because she broke her hip. So what was that time period of life like for you? How old were you then?
I was in my 20s. I was between 25 and 29. She died when I was 29, right before my 30th birthday. And we were closer than sisters. We traveled together. We practically lived together. I mean, we got to know each other because she was a lifetime alcoholic. So, breaking her hip, sometimes you have to break something to fix it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And we understood each other. And when she died, I mourned for a very long time, but I'm lucky because many people don't get that time. Mm-hmm. I had 3 good years with her, and I count myself as blessed that I actually had that time with her before she left.
And I bet she feels the same way.
I'm sure she does.
What a life to then have this massive shift and then have the beauty of a, sisterly, loving, just amazing relationship with your daughter and get to experience life. Because I think, I'm grateful that I haven't had a problem with alcohol, but I have seen other people struggle through it and how it just grips them so tightly and it's the only thing that they're focused on. And so for her being able to get on the other side of that and focus on all the beauty that life has to offer must have been just so special for her.
It was. I think it was. And at the end, I think she was probably at peace. And I did get sober quite there at the end. And it wasn't that I was an alcoholic. I just didn't want to raise my kids the way I had been raised. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want her path. So I just quit drinking on a dime.
Mm-hmm. I think that's beautiful. I mean, it is so interesting. There's this kind of trend going around social media right now where it says like, it'll show like a picture or a video of somebody's mother and the caption will say something like, "Oh, realizing my mom is just a girl too." And, or, realizing my parents are going through this living for the first time, them just as like we are, and I think that it's so interesting. And, I don't have kids, but some of my friends who have kids, I've seen them go through different things in their lives, whether it's like getting control of their physical fitness or slowing down their drinking because they're all of a sudden they're kind of like, wait a minute, like, what am I showing my kids right now? What kind of example am I setting? Like, what am I showing them that, a responsible adult is like, and then seeing how they shift their day-to-day and their habits and their routines to be better for their children.
Kids are sponges. You don't think they're paying attention to you? They are.
Yeah.
They are 100% watching your every move, which is why I didn't want to, and I didn't have a head for alcohol anyways. 2 drinks and I would be in the bathroom.
Oh, no.
I had no head for it at all. So it was probably better I didn't do it. But it's been an interesting ride. And forgiveness has kind of been in my path the whole time. And and everybody watching and listening to this broadcast on a 10 scale, with 10 being unforgivable, dumpster fire, horrific, I don't want to talk to you, and to 1 being the easiest person in the world to forgive, 10 out of 10 people right now, including yourself, are thinking of that number 10 person. That's why nobody wants to talk about forgiveness. And that's why many people are saying, well, they don't deserve my forgiveness. No, they don't. You're not doing it for them. So here are some things that get bandied around for decades that are just wrong. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I want a relationship with you.
Yeah.
I probably don't. I probably have boundaries in place. And here's the big one that trips everybody up. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm giving in. I'm coming over to the dark side, as it were. It doesn't mean that I'm saying, okay, you were right and I was wrong. That's not what it means. You're still wrong. You still have amends to make, and you're still over there, and I still don't want to have a relationship with you. Forgiveness, the formal definition for me means I want you out of my head. That's it. I want you out of my head. I want to stop thinking about you. I want to stop dreaming about you. I want the triggers to stop so I don't have to keep going dancing this dance with you. That's what it means. And because you don't have to reach out to these people and talk to them and tell them that you've forgiven them, because they don't care at the end of the day, because they don't, you can forgive dead people. Because where they are or are not doesn't matter a lick. If they're in your head, you can forgive it.
Okay, this is so interesting because, as you've been talking, I'm thinking about all of these things, particularly song lyrics are just jumping in and out of my head because I'm a big lyrics person, right? And forgiveness is like forgive and forget, or forgive but I won't forget, and all these different things that people say, right?
Let's take forgive and forget. That's another fallacy out there. Forgive and forget. Okay, I live in the South now, but I was raised in New York City, and I can promise you with 100% certainty, we don't forget anything. It's in our DNA. We don't forget. So that's out the window right away. So
Yeah.
you're not going to forget what happened. But what I can promise you, if you go through the system, and I'm going to talk about the actual steps in a minute,
yeah,
I can promise neutrality. I'm going to remove the emotional charge to that person. So you're not going to care good. You're not going to care bad. I can look back into my childhood, which was really quite dysfunctional. And I used to want to be my story. I am my story. I'm a survivor of alcohol. I'm a suicide survivor. And I wore it like a proud badge. And I thought, if I lose the story, who am I? It's a very scary thought. Who are you? Well, you're your authentic self. And if you lose all of that anger, you're whittling down to your authentic self. And now after I've done all of this work and I've done all this shadow work, I can look back into my past. And it's not that I have forgotten the stories, but now I remember the love that was there. I remember the adults that were trying to help that kid. I remember the people in my life that actually did show me joy and did show me love. And that's what I remember. My father, who was actually one of my unforgivables, I've now forgiven. He's been dead for years, but now I can think of the times we did laugh and we did have a good time, as few as they were. Now I could see them. And that's what I can promise you. It's a perception shift. You're not forgetting, because nobody can forget. Come on, nobody forgets.
Right.
But you are going to shift your perception to the point where you won't care.
I think
That's
is
freedom.
so,
that's joy.
It is. It's funny because I was just going to say, like, that saying that, like, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of seems like this goes along the same lines.
Wouldn't you rather be indifferent than mad all the time?
Absolutely. 100%. I mean, having anger or negativity and hatred, it's all emotion, right? And it's all burning energy. Why are you giving energy to this person or thing that is no longer, that gives them power?
And here's another one. And I'm the only one that's ever going to say this to you, probably, maybe, most likely. You don't have to forgive the unforgivable.
Okay.
You don't. Why don't you have to forgive the unforgivable? Because there's a lot of people, places, and things. And I did say places and things. I'm getting very close to the secret, the special sauce that you can forgive before you even get to that dumpster fire. Right? So in my world, my forgiveness system isn't starting from the number 10 unforgivable person. We're going to start in the other end. We're going to start with the easy ones. And we're going to work using my method, which I'm going to talk about. We're going to work our way up to the unforgivables. And the unforgivables are a bear, but I have a method to forgive the unforgivable too. And the unforgivable might be you. You might have done something that you can't forgive yourself for. And this is the first book of 3. The next book is going to be about how to forgive yourself. And I'm doing it with a friend of mine, my co-author, but I've already written my piece, so I can tell you what the exercise is to forgive yourself. So I can give that away ahead of it.
Okay. It's interesting because as you keep talking, right, and you keep mentioning the how, and so that's all I keep thinking about is, people do say that, like, oh, like forgive and forget, or forgive so you can move on, or forgive so you can do this. But you're so right. Like, no one tells you, like, how do I do this? How am I supposed to let all of this go?
Well, I get a lot of people coming up to me who say, I did forgive them. I did do the work. And you did. 100% you did the work. But you keep getting triggered, don't you? You see their name on Facebook and boom, all of a sudden you're right there back in that space and you're reliving the whole thing and you're angry again. And you're thinking, damn it, I thought I forgave them. What you didn't think about is you didn't forgive the energy. Einstein has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that energy is neither created nor destroyed. It just transforms from one thing to another. And science has also taught us that everything in our world has an energy field around it, including this little snowball microphone. Everything has an energy field. So the reason you keep getting triggered is because you didn't forgive the energy field.
That's crazy. And I love it because I'm so like energy driven and make all of my decisions based on the energy that I feel is a part of it, or who the person is, or the situational, and what energy I want to attract and what energy I'm putting out. So this is just, I'm loving it.
Well, let's go over the methods so you can.
Yes.
And the energy of objects and places is equally as important, and I'm going to explain why in a minute. So I want everybody to find a room or go outside, and I want you to be alone. I don't want the little humans in the room. I don't want the big humans in the room, maybe the dog if they're quiet. Mm-hmm. And then I want you to do something really hard. Really want you to turn your phone off.
Oh, yeah.
I know people are going to twitch at the thought, but if you're really visibly twitching at the thought of turning your phone off, at least mute it. Yeah. Don't put it on vibrate, because when it dances, you're going to look and say, ooh, who's that? That type of thing. Mm-hmm. I just really want you to be quiet for about 20 minutes. And then I want you to get out a piece of paper and a pen. And I know people younger than me are screaming at me right now because you want to get your tablet out. And
because they don't even know how to write, right? They have bad handwriting. Wow, I couldn't get that out.
I don't care if there's bad handwriting. There's science behind this too. There was a study done eons ago of a class at Harvard University, and half the kids were told to just say their goals out loud to the room, and the other half were told to write down your goals on a piece of paper. They followed the kids through the years. And the kids who wrote their goals down were twice as successful as the kids who didn't. So there's magic that happens when it goes from your head down your arm and onto the paper. Wow. So get a pad of paper. If you really want to use your tablet, knock yourself out. At the end of the day, it's fine. So I want you to write down all the people you think you need to forgive. Now, to be fair, you're going to write the unforgivable people first. Your top 5 people are right at the top of your mind right now as you're listening to this. Write those people down first. Everybody does. I did too. But keep going. Think about what happened at the office the other day. Did somebody steal your sandwich? Did somebody steal your parking space? Did you get road rage? What happened in high school? Did somebody, stain your sweater, cheat off your paper? Think about everybody. I want a list. If there's 50 people on there, that's fine. Just write a nice list, and I want you to go all the way to your past. Then I want you to look at this list, and I want you to rank these people between 1 and 10. 10 is horrific. 1 is super easy. Now, you could have 20 number 7s. I don't care. Yeah. You could also skip a number. I also don't care. But what I do care about is you start with the number 1s, and you work your way up to the dumpster fire. Now, I want you to look at that first name. And I want you to do this before bed or at least after dinner, because most people, when they do forgiveness work, the energy makes them tired. So you probably don't want to do this before a big meeting or in the morning when you wake up. You probably want to do this after dinner. And I want you to look at that first name. And I want you to imagine this person in your mind's eye. Now, if you're thinking about a kid from high school, I want you to see the kid, not the adult. I want the original kid to stand in front of you. And if you can't imagine it in your mind's eye, not everybody can, put a chair in front of you and talk to the chair. You could put their name on the chair. You could even put their picture on the chair. If you want to dig out your old high school yearbook, knock yourself out. That's fine. Doesn't matter. Talk to the chair. Then this is where you can say anything you want. You can get closure for some of these people because they've already passed. Say anything you want to that person. You're alone in a room. Cry, scream, shout. I don't care what you do. Get it all out, whatever it is. But if it's a level 1 person, you're probably not going to have much to say because it's really just stupid easy, right? Then I want you to put your hand on your heart, and the words are really just for us humans. It's the energy behind the words where the magic is. And then I'm only using Martha as an example because I don't have any Marthas in my family, so it's really safe. Okay. I want you to say, I completely forgive Martha. I forgive the energy around Martha. I forgive myself. I forgive the energy around myself. I forgive the energy around the entire relationship. And so it is. Thank God. Amen. End it any way you like. Now check in with your body. Are you still angry? Was it a level 1 person? So are you still angry? No? Great. Cross the name off the list. Go to the next one. Were they a level 4 and you check in? You're still a little bit angry? Okay. Cross out the 4, put a 3, wait 24 hours, do it again. There's worksheets and stuff in the book. This happened to a friend of mine, and we were together at the time, and I was watching her body language when this happened. It was a level 4 person. She said my mantra exactly as I just said it, and you could see her. She got angry. She checked in with her body, and she said, it's a 10 now.
Oh, dang.
It went the other way. Why did it go the other way? Because your brain protects you. It's like an overprotective best friend. And there's a closet in the back of your head that's been padlocked for a very long time.
That's what
And
I was going to ask. Was it something that was just so stuffed away?
There's movies back there that are playing. And you would turn those movies off if you knew they were there. You don't know they were there, and they're affecting your life. And what she did is she said the magic words, open sesame, and it flooded, the closet opened, and it flooded her brain with memories. And she got mad immediately because she started to remember things. Forgiveness is an onion. And she forgave the first layer. And this is a marathon, not a sprint. So she crossed the number 4 off her list. She replaced it with a 10 and began the long slog of getting that number 10 down. And she kept going. That's the essence of the program. But when you get to the unforgivable, so they're a little bit of a bear.
Well, let's go back as we were talking about this list, right? Because like you said, like there could be 50 names on a list. There could be a lot of people. So as you're going through the list, are you meant to go get through all 50 people, for example's sake, in that initial sitting and then return back at a later date? Or
do as I say, not as I did.
Okay.
I am my own guinea pig. I did this exercise. I did have 50 people on the list. Not kidding. And I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to be like a phoenix rising from the ashes. I'm going to do all of it all at once. It's going to be like ripping a Band-Aid off. And I'm going to be a new person tomorrow morning. It's going to be sunny and it's going to be brilliant. Okay. It didn't happen. It didn't end the way I thought it would. I did forgive many people on the list. I also spent the next 3 days in bed with what everybody thought was a stomach flu. Now, why did my body do that? Here comes some science at you. There was a study done in Japan called the Japanese Water Study. And you can Google Japanese Water Study. It'll come right up. Okay. Guy named Hashimoto something. And in the interest of time, I'll just say it fast and I'll simplify it. He took 2 containers of water. 1 container of water, all he did was talk to it. That's it. Said the most beautiful, I love you to the water. He spoke nicely to it. Told it he loved it. Told it was beautiful. The other container of water, pure hate. The most hateful things he could say, he said to that water. He then froze the water and he put it under a microscope. The water that he spoke love to had these gorgeous crystal formations. The pictures are right online. It's really cool. The water that he spoke hate to had these black and brown malformations that kind of looked diseased. Why am I telling you this? The human body is over 95% water. So when your self-talk is bad, when you are filled with resentment and anger and bitterness and rage, what do you think you're doing to the water cells within your body? Totally. It's literally making you sick from the inside out. So I want you to do this before bed, and I really only want you to do 10 at a time. And if you're doing a high level person, like a level 8, 9, or 10, I really only want you to do 1 a night, because it's your body heals itself when it's sleeping, and it can mitigate all that anger in small chunks. I gave it too much work to do. So it literally put me in bed. And then your body has to release those water cells somehow, shall I politely say. And some people just get really tired. Some people feel actual energy leave from their solar plexus, which if everybody doesn't know, it's right in the center of your body. And some people, like yours truly, spend some time in the bathroom. It doesn't mean you ate a piece of bad fish. It's just your body's way of getting rid of all that toxic sludge.
Yeah. Oh, God. I mean, I totally can believe that. I mean, 100%. That is so fascinating. And I never thought about all of that stored emotion and how revisiting it forgiveness ultimately is a positive, right? Because you're letting things go. Yeah. It's another form of letting go, how that can unlock all of that and then make you feel, whoa.
You're storing it in the water cells in your body, but you're also storing it in your energy field. And if you've tried to tap into your intuition and you've tried to be your authentic self, anger acts like a shield. So you're literally trying to get through a lead shield to tap into that. And trust me, that little bird in your shoulder, if there's a crack, it'll get through 100%. That's why we have these little flashes of insight. But if you start to forgive even the easy ones and working your way up, you're going to start to feel lighter. You're going to start to feel better. You're going to start to pay attention to more. Why? Well, here's a visual. And if you're listening to this, I'm about to hold a purple teacup up right in front of my face. Sorry. This purple cup represents anger and bitterness. and toxic stuff. So look at my body language. When you first get angry, I can manage my anger. You and I could be in a session. No, I got this. I'm not angry, Nikki. No, I got this. This is perfectly simple. But humans irritate other humans, don't we? And if I don't take anything out of this cup of anger, I'm going to continue to fill it up with more anger and bitterness and resentments and grudges. And eventually it's going to start to seep into my brain. Now I'm using two hands to hold up to the cup. Now my life hasn't stopped exactly. I'm still able to pay attention, but it's starting to seep into my conversations. And if I still refuse to forgive and I continue to hold on to this, now I'm holding the cup in front of my face. I can't even see you now. I'm missing things. I'm missing opportunities. I'm missing money-making opportunities. My dream relationship might have just walked into the room. I'm missing it. So by doing the people you would label 1, 2, 3, or 4 first, what I'm doing is now the cup is back over to the side. My life is opened up. I'm able to pay attention again. And if you keep it up and you keep on working the system, eventually you'll be able to put the cup down. And now look at me. My hands are free. And now I can literally pay attention to the world around me.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I am so amazed by this. And I need to stop myself from trying to like make a list in my head. Cause like I'm bouncing all around like different aspects of my life and times in my life and thinking like, would I put that person on the list? Would I put that person on the list?
You put them all on the list.
Yeah.
Now, when we're talking about forgiving yourself or forgiving the unforgivable, my answer is very similar for both questions.
Okay.
The unforgivable, we'll use one of my own unforgivables. Let's use the bully in school.
Okay.
Because why not? When I was it was in my 50s, and I thought it was ridiculous that a 50-something-year-old woman was sitting there being angry about something that happened in the 1970s. That's ridiculous. It's bloody ridiculous. I should be over this. I'm an adult. I'm an adult. But I wasn't. It was like a movie. I couldn't get out. It was affecting my life. Yeah. So I wasn't, when I first started, I didn't want to forgive the bully because I didn't. I didn't even want to forgive the energy around the bully. So I picked apart the memory. Everything on our planet has an energy field around it. This is why buildings and events trigger you. Yeah. So I forgave my childhood school building. I forgave the building, the energy around the building. I forgave the desk that I sat at. Not kidding. The energy around the desk. I forgave the chair that I sat in. I forgave the classroom. I forgave the playground, the grass, the dirt, the play set. I forgave the kids who stood around and didn't help. I forgave New York City, the energy around New York City. And I ended by forgiving 1974 because that's the year that I tried to commit suicide. And I still haven't forgiven the bully yet. I'm forgiving the energy around everything. This is why I say at the end of the day, you really don't have to forgive the bully if you really don't want to forgive the unforgivable. And it may not be appropriate for you to forgive them if it's something really, really traumatic, like a murder or something. There's other things in the memory you can forgive.
Okay. And so it essentially just like lightens the load, right?
And then I got the bully down from a 10 to a 9. And I thought, okay, I could make my first pass at trying to forgive them. Did I mean it the first time? Not really, but I did it anyways. And I waited 24 hours and then I did it again. Okay. And by doing that, this is a bear. It's a slog. You're not going to get a number 10 person down to a 1 in a week. It's not going to happen. This takes some time, which is why I have you forgive the easy ones first, because it's going to change your life. It's going to open you up, and you save those horrible ones for last when you're ready for it.
And I also feel like there's got to be something in starting smallest to largest that makes you want to continue on.
That's right.
Because it's kind of like, like sometimes you'll be cleaning the house and you're going to be like, oh, let's do like the worst of it. Like if your kitchen's a disaster, like let's do the kitchen first because it's going to be the hardest and the longest and it's the grossest. But if you start like maybe in the bedroom, all you need to do is like make your bed. It's like, well, if you start there, then you're still motivated to continue on because you still have that dirty kitchen to finish. So I feel like that's kind of the same mindset where you start with these little ones and then you move to the big ones, and it's motivating because you still got to get there.
Let me give you another visual that's helped a lot of my clients. When you go on vacation, you pack a big suitcase. And if you're like me, it's usually really, really heavy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you have to drag that suitcase from your house to the airport. You have to put it in luggage. You have to, or put it in the overhead, and it's really heavy. Then you got to drag that sucker to the hotel. And then you have to come back, and you might unpack a few things at the hotel, and then you have to bring it back. What do you do when you get home? You unpack the suitcase and you put it in your closet. That's what, this is what this system is like, because the suitcase is still there. I haven't forgotten that the suitcase is there, but I've unpacked it. And now it's lighter and freer, and I'm not dragging it around like extra baggage all along. I mean, unpack the suitcase.
Whoa. This is really cool. I'm really, really just blown away.
I had a gentleman, and I'm not bashing men by any means. It was just one gentleman. Don't email me. But he came up to me and he said, I don't agree with you. Okay, that's fair. What don't you agree with? And I used to train concierge for a living, so I'm pretty good at masking what I'm thinking. And he looked at me and he said, I've made a lot of money in my life. And in my head, I'm going,
cool.
Okay.
Yeah. Your point?
And I have a lot of houses. I'm thinking, good for you. And he said, I have a lot of businesses and I'm very successful. Booyah, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what to say at this point. I just smiled at him, to be honest. And he said, I built it on my bed of pain and hate. I took my horrible story and I turned it into gasoline. And that's what I used as fuel that got me where I am today. Okay, I'll play. Let's play. Okay. There are two trains you can take. You can take the local or the express. The express is going to stop at every single solitary stop. It's like going into a hotel and you want to go to the 75th floor and some punk kid just left the elevator and pressed every single button and you have to stop at every single floor. We've all had this happen to us. And by the time you get up there, you're just a wreck and you're grumpy and you're sweaty. This is the same thing. You can get there using that little local train of pain. You're going to be bloody and you're going to be a different person. It's going to be painful. But when you rather hop on the express, you'll get twice as far, twice as fast using love, forgiveness, and joy than you will using your bed of pain.
I had a feeling that was going to be the answer. It's kind of like just because you used all of that as fuel, or just because you got so far, it still doesn't mean that you don't have these things in your life that you could let go of.
You could see it in his face too. He had a lot of skeletons and he had a lot of pain because you could see it in his face when he was telling the story. And you can absolutely reach your destination the hard way.
So here's my
I'm not sure you want to, but you could.
Yeah. So here's my next question. How did you figure this out? How did you master the how of forgiveness?
Well, not to stretch anybody's brain to the point of pain, but it was with my two best friends and I, and we were talking, and it was literally given to me.
Okay.
That's why it was so unique. And energy turned into a conversation. It was like a snowball going down the hill. And one thought led to another thought, which led to another thought. And then we put it all together. My co-author has a PhD, needless to say, she's very bright. And it was a connection of everybody. It was like connecting the dots, that game we played as kids. And that's how we figured it out.
I mean, were you guys just like jumping out of your skin as all of this was unfolding? That had to have been the coolest conversation as all these like moments were like, oh my God, wait. And oh my God, wait.
Yeah, we were really quite beside ourselves, the three of us. And it was, we wondered why nobody else had thought about it yet. So I did a little dig and I did a little dive and I went onto the internet and somebody wrote it in a book, in a reference, very obscure book that was written in the 1950s, but it was the only thing everybody kind of has touched on it over the years. The Hawaiian, I can't pronounce it. It's Hona, I can't pronounce it. It's Hawaiian. It's like the Ho'oponopono, something like that. Everybody, I'm sure people know what it is. It's very close to our system, but it's the energy. That's what nobody understands. It's the energy that is tripping everybody up. That's why you keep getting triggered. Here, let me give you an example. You're driving to work and you reach a red light and you always turn left at the light. Today, that little bird in your shoulder told you to turn right. And you listen to your gut. For some reason, you made the right turn. You're not sure why. Took you by your old high school. And you had a beautiful morning. The coffee was great. The sun is shining. Everybody was happy. It was really peaceful mornings, right? You get to work and you're grumpy and your presentation kind of tanks and you're kind of chopping everybody's heads off. And everybody's like, did you not sleep last night? No, I got 10 hours of sleep or whatever it is. No, I had a perfect morning. Why are you grumpy? Because that movie that's in the locked closet in the back of your head started to play. The building triggered you.
Yeah.
You saw your high school and it triggered you. So forgiving the building and the playground and forgiving, the classroom, that's going to remove some of those energy triggers. Yeah. So you won't be triggered again. And that's how you get it piece by piece. Well, what if you are your own number 10? What if you are the person that you need to forgive? Well, I want you to create the first list first. I want you to do that first round of these are the people I want to forgive. But then you have to write a list of the people that you think need to forgive you. Oh. And there are events where you said something you shouldn't. Put down the birthday in 2009. This is why you're going to write events and you're going to write people. You're going to write, I shouldn't have gotten into that car. Okay. You're going to have to forgive that car that led to that horrible thing that happened. I shouldn't have gone out with that guy. Okay. Don't remember the guy's name. Just do the best you can so you remember what it is. And then I want you to rate everything from 1 to 10. And the ones are easy. The thing, maybe you said something at work the other day and you knew it was mean, but you couldn't help yourself. Or maybe you were grumpy and you just cut all your loved ones' heads off at dinner last night. Maybe you yelled at your kids and it really wasn't your kids. You just had something on your mind. Those are the easy ones. Yeah. And then I want you to flip the language. Instead of saying, I completely forgive Martha and the energy around Martha, you're going to flip it. And you're going to say, Martha completely forgives me. And you're going to flip that little mantra I have in the book. Now, is Martha really going to forgive you? A podcaster asked me that recently. Yeah. Probably not. Right. You're not doing this for them. You're doing it for you. You're the prisoner. Yeah. Buddha said it really well. Anger is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. And they are going to notice. As you forgive people and yourself, you're going to start to act different. Your energy is going to feel different. People are going to say, have you changed your hair or lost weight? You look great today. Well, of course you do. Your energy field is completely lightened up. So some things are going to happen in your life. Like energy attracts like energy. It's like moths to a flame. New people are going to come into your life. Better people, forward-thinking people. Brilliant. This is exactly what we want. But as Jim Rohn says, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Who are you spending your time with? You will have jackrabbits.
I believe that I had like so much.
I had 6 jackrabbits. These were really close girlfriends of mine. And then they left. Boom. Gone. I've never heard from them since. Wow. And then you have the saboteurs. Wow. And the saboteurs and the jackrabbits are like, I like the old Katharine better. So instead of ghosting me and leaving, the saboteurs are like, well, I think I'm going to try and bring this person back. And that's where you have to decide. Who do you want to spend your time with? Yeah. Make the choice. Because you're going to have these people, but when they start to do it, you'll notice it.
I love that whole, I've reminded myself of that whole mantra for years, that you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I have had moments where I've stopped and said, like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? And is this the right place for me? Oh my gosh, that is so interesting because, as I'm sitting here thinking about different things in my life, because obviously none of us are perfect, right? So there certainly are people that I would want forgiveness from, right? For if I said something or if I did something, or whether it was intentional or unintentional, none of us are perfect. We all do things that hurt other people. What about in an instance where you are forgiving yourself for not feeling the way that traditional societal expectations would want you to feel?
Well, I love that. Sorry, I have to turn the air conditioning just went off in my office. And it's really hot up
here. No worries.
I have an app on my phone. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ask me the question again. Forgiving yourself for what?
Yeah. So I said, what if you are needing to forgive yourself for not feeling the way that society traditionally would expect you to feel in a certain situation?
Forgive yourself for those feelings. I forgive. And you can say you can say this sentence 3 times a night for the next week if you're not buying into anything I'm saying. I completely forgive myself for not being able to forgive and the energy around this thought. Say that every night, and eventually you're probably not going to have to say it for 5 days in a row because that closet's going to open. Now, if you said something in the heat of anger that you can't take back, and you can forgive that and write that down in on your list. You can forgive yourself for not thinking the way your family wants you to think. I had to do that one. Because they just didn't get me. And I had to forgive them for trying to put me in a round peg when I wasn't round. You know, sometimes you don't think the way society does. You have to forgive them for that. And I forget my parents were like that. And I had to do a lot of forgiveness work around my parents because they wanted to be one thing and I'm just not. So I'm not a very religious person, but there is one passage in the Bible that got me to forgive my parents. Now it took a long time to forgive the events and get them down from a 10 down to a 1. And they both passed a long time ago. But when Jesus is on the cross, he says, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. When you are in the 5th grade and you don't know trigonometry, I can't get angry at you because you haven't been taught it yet. So my parents did the best they could with the tools they had at the time. Was it good enough? No, but they did the best they could. And that's what got me the rest of the way. I could forgive them for that. And I can forgive, if I can forgive my parents for that, I can forgive myself. So when I did the exercise of forgiving myself, I actually took it to a completely different level. I did write down my list of events and people I thought needed to forgive me. Then I did it decade by decade. And I did my list of when I was a teenager. And then I did my list when I was in my 20s and my 30s. And I used the mantra because I'm not that person anymore. It's a different Katharine. So I would say I completely forgive 20-year-old Katharine. And I'd say 30-year-old Katharine. Because they're different people. I'm not that person anymore. I've evolved.
Totally.
Like to think I've evolved.
Yeah. Well, we hope so, right? I would hope that I'm not the same person that I was in my 30s now that, I mean, I've seen something, also too online recently where, it's like, I don't know her anymore. Or like, I know her, we were friends 5 years ago. It's like, well, no, you don't know me actually at all.
No,
now you don't know me in the slightest. I'm completely different than I was 5 years ago.
Yeah. And, when it comes to family messes you up, does it? I mean, family will mess you up. And most of my clients, family is usually in the top 5 of people they have to forgive. But if you have a family member who is saying, I don't believe you, why do you think that about dad? I had a great relationship with them. So you're probably making it up or, you're crazy. Nobody else thinks that way. With all due respect to your sibling, I don't care.
Totally.
If you think that was awful and you think this person was a 10 and your experience was bad, that's what I care about. Then it's real to me.
Yeah.
And 2 people can be raised in the same house completely differently. Like completely differently, not just us from the 60s and 70s, but that you can both come out with completely and totally different experiences. We're all snowflakes. When my mother died, I would have never gone up to my brother and said, I completely understand what you're going through. Because at the end of the day, I didn't.
Right.
So I never say that. I say, I'm so sorry you have to go through. This is just horrific. And that's standard out of my mouth for anything like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I feel like I just got a master class and now I can't wait to go read.
This forgiveness it's easier than people realize. I think people make it really complicated because they're thinking of that unforgivable person that they don't want to forgive. And, honest to God, there are unforgivable people out there. There really are. Not everybody's forgivable. But everybody's tolerance of pain is different. So what you think is unforgivable, I'll go to my grave never forgiving them. Another person might say, I can do that. It's unique. Forgiveness is personal and it's selfish. It's a good kind of selfish. So you do it at the end of the day, you do it for you in the privacy of your own home. Nobody has to know. You don't have to reach out to anybody. It's called shadow work. A lot of people call this shadow work because you're dealing with the shadows of the past, but you're going to come out a better person.
Gosh, I am just so intrigued by everything and thinking so much about how it is so personal. I mean, it kind of reminds me of how, when people do something bad, like say a spouse cheats on their partner and then they're like, oh my God, I have to tell her. And they're telling the other person to make themselves feel better when it's going to make the other person feel like absolute shit. But they're like, oh, I have to get this off my chest. And it's like, okay. So it's like, I like this whole theory around energy and around letting things go. And it's not, like you said at the very beginning, like picking up the phone and then someone yelling at you because they're now reminded of the situation and how much you hurt them or how shitty you were or whatever it was that you did. You're just going like, okay, I'm going to forgive myself for this, or I'm going to forgive this person for that. But we don't even have to have this conversation. They don't even need to know that I still exist or even think about them anymore.
I think the first thing you have to ask yourself is, do I want to keep the relationship or I don't want to keep the relationship? And some people will have a clear answer, which will give them a clear path. If you don't have a clear answer, might I suggest you do the forgiveness work and see how you feel after you've done it. If then you still want to overshare and tell them what happened, go for it. But I suggest you do this forgiveness work first and then see how you feel. Now, you're not going to it's going to take a while. It's going to take more than one night to get these people down. It takes a little time.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, if you're doing a day, a night, and you're doing it consistently. I mean, is that what some people do? What are people doing? Are they just powering through and like knocking out their lists in a month or 2 weeks time? Or is it more of a every few days, or every person's different, I suppose?
I think every person's different. I'm one of the people that it took months for certain people, especially my father. So I do this every night before bed. And the first thing I'll sit down is I'll think of the 3 things I'm most grateful for that day. It could be the fact that coffee exists. That might be the only thing that I'm grateful for. Coffee is a thing. Thank you, God. Amen. And then I'll try, it doesn't have to be Moses parts the water kind of thing. Just 3 things. Sure. I had tater tots. Grateful for that. Something like that. Whatever. And then I'll go into my forgiveness list. Now, I've really done most of my past now because I've been doing this a long time. But there's always something in my life I can forgive. You can forgive anybody. You can forgive the Super Bowl team you rooted for that lost recently. Enough time has gone by. I think you can forgive them. You can forgive politicians, dare I say, not going there. You can forgive the war in the Middle East. What's that going to do for the war in the Middle East? Absolutely nothing. It's going to do wonderful things for you. Let's give you one more example that might help people. Let's say you have an Aunt Martha. As I said, I don't have an Aunt Martha, very safe name. Aunt Martha drinks. She's really quite a fish, really quite a lush. The trouble with Aunt Martha is when she drinks, she loves to play with people in a bad way. She wants to push your buttons. She wants to instigate fights. And then she sits back and she watches the show. And she doesn't shower very much, so she doesn't really smell very good. And she covers herself with perfume. And every Christmas, your parents, some reason, you're sitting next to Aunt Martha. And it takes you a month because Christmas is coming, or the family wedding or whatever. It's coming, and that woman's going to make a beeline for you. And my mother used to say, every family's the same, only the names are different. So I think we all have our version of Aunt Martha, right? And what's going to happen. So it takes you a couple weeks to mentally gear yourself up to go. And then it takes you a couple weeks to decompress after, because she pushes the buttons and triggers you for all sorts of things. So what do you do? Okay, you're probably not going to forgive Aunt Martha anytime soon. I get that. And you've only got about a month or so to do this. I get that too. So maybe you can forgive the energy around Martha. Try. If it doesn't work, okay, we keep going. Pick one of your most favorite Aunt Martha stories, meaning the most horrific one. Pick one. And then I want you to pick apart the memory. I want you to forgive the table you all sat at when she started her wonderful little, thing. I want you to forgive the chair that you sat in. Forgive the chair she sat in. Forgive the food on the table. I'm actually not kidding. Forgive the building where you had it. Forgive the kitchen. Forgive the car that took you there. Wow. Forgive yourself for saying, sure, I'll come. And then check in with your body. How is Martha still a 10? Did it come down just a tick? Okay, pick another memory and do it again. What's going to happen by the time you get to Christmas? Here's what's going to happen. You're not going to care. You're not going to have to mentally psych yourself into it for 2 weeks. And when you see Aunt Martha, you're probably going to smile. Because you know what she's going to say, you know what she's going to do, and you know she's going to drink.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to be entertained by it. The emotional charge is going to be gone. So when she starts to push your buttons, you're not going to care because you're going to know what she's doing. So the emotional charge is going to be not as bad as it was. And your family's going to say, do you have a fever? What's wrong with you? Because they're sitting around watching the show every year, watching you squirm. Right. And you've forgiven all of them as well. So did you completely forgive Martha? Probably not. But, this is a sober 35 years sober person saying, make it a drinking game. Every time she does that, take a shot, something like that. Eat some food, go outside. But you're not going to be as triggered as badly.
Right. Instead of the alternative, which is sitting there and just like letting your annoyance like start festering.
Yeah.
So by the time you walk in the door and you see the person, you're already so annoyed. And then it just like, continues to grow from there. Oh my gosh. You have really just changed my brain. So thank you for that so much.
Oh, my pleasure. It's just energy.
Where everybody I know that is listening is going to be like as intrigued as I am, how can they find the book to get started?
You can go to Amazon, and on Amazon, I have the ebook, the paperback, and my younger son and I, he's a TV news producer. He produced the audiobook. We're still talking to each other, which I have such a respect for anybody who does voiceover work. You think they go into a booth and magically they read and off they go. It is harder than you think, people. Really hard. I mean, it took a couple weeks to get this done. So I have mad respect for Tom Hanks and all these people that do this. Cool. And you can also go to my website. And thanks to my mother, my first name is spelled a little odd. And it's Katharine. So it's KatharineGiovanni.com. And there's private session information and books and blogs and podcasts and all that stuff.
Wonderful. And all of Katharine's information will be in the show notes. Katharine, you are a gem. Thank you so much for sharing all of that wisdom. You truly have changed my life. I am so excited to get working on my own list of people. And everybody who is watching and listening, thank you so much for being here. As always, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share all the good things. Let me know what you think. And we will see you next week. Katharine, thank you again.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Goodbye.